Is this? Let's switch gears and do a quick overview, and then we will proceed from there. Before I do the presentation that I prepared, which of course I'll take maybe 15 minutes or so, and then have Dr. Shui wind up with our big dream, give us a report of where we are with the building a sanctuary. I just wanted to make a few highlights. I realized that when I requested reports from leaders of the ministries, I made a lot of assumptions, and I just wanted to clarify that I would work very closely to ensure that I have a format and a structure of what is expected. Where we are going, because that's going to help us to be more uniform and then have a template to use to give our quarterly report. What we want to do is that we want to assemble, a quarterly report that is coming from all different ministries, telling us where you are in terms of your leadership structure, telling us how many members do you have in your team, and then if it's a children ministry, you're giving us the teachers, the children in your classes, and all that, and what kind of structure you have, and then how many meetings you have had, the minutes you've had, the challenges you are facing, because we want to know exactly the challenges you have faced in that quarter, the progress you have made. Don't forget the progress you have made, capturing all that progress made. And also, what are the future plans in the next quarter and the quarters to come? You give us the highlight of the key dates. So that will help us to be able to be giving reports in a quarterly basis. I compiled that, and I also try to present it to the board to see the progress we are making as a church. I don't anticipate that we will be able to do it perfectly this year, but it's this year, as you all know, it's about laying the foundation so that from next year we have a framework that we use. Does that make sense? So don't feel bad that you are not able to submit to me your quarterly report or anything. And then, as always, reach out to me, call me, and we can walk through what report you have and what you want to give. And in that way, then we are able to be more organized. Catherine ably presented. I think you want to be organized, you want to be disciplined, make sure that we're able to assess where we have come from, where we are, and where we are going. Patrick mentioned that too. Very important. She mentioned about the budgets. That is key. So your ministry is responsible of coming up with the activities, but also the budget for your ministry. Like, how do we want to meet that budget? How do we raise the funds to meet the budget and all the kind of stuff. So, and Catherine will be training the treasurers, who will be the point people answerable to the treasurers in your ministries, and then train them about budget making and all that. So that 2019, it's going to be a little bit different, whereby the budgets are coming from the ministries, and then once they get to Catherine, she compiles, comes to the board, they are approved, and then we proceed. Is that okay? All right. So let's. I just wanted to clarify that so that those who do not get a chance to present their report to me, they don't feel like, oh, we were left behind. No, it happened with most of the teams. Now, one of the key things that I want to talk about, and I've presented this in a few places about emotional intelligence and leadership. Right now, I do about 4 presentations in my workplace, and also with the Department of Medicaid about emotional intelligence and leadership. And the reason as to why I got interested into that, it is because it's a new emerging field that is laying more emphasis on your emotional stability and ability to manage your own emotions, but also the emotions of the people that you lead. I think in the years past, you know that there's been a lot of emphasis on IQ. IQ is your intelligence. It's how smart you are, how, about your intelligence quotient. That has been more emphasized over the years. But now we are getting to a point, I probably may have to use the light on 4 seconds. So we are getting to a point of realizing that leadership and success, emotional maturity, emotional consistency, emotional dependability, it's really key. And so where do we go to as leaders of Go Ye Outreach Ministries? You realize that some of the challenges we face with ourselves and the people we lead have probably very little to do with them being sinners. It's not a spiritual, it's a spiritual problem, but again, some of them is about managing their emotions. Different emotional challenges. They are born again, they have the desire and the passion to move forward and do this, but are they emotionally stable? To be able to make an impact. We're talking about ordinary people doing extraordinary, things. So this, the term emotional intelligence or emotional quotient was official. Now, provide all the PowerPoints will be available. The ones that have been presented will be available, so you don't have to write everything. And of course, the videos are also available. So the term emotional intelligence quotient was officially coined in 1990 by Salovey and Meyer. Now, one of the things that I want you to know is that emotional intelligence is the ability or the capacity to recognize your own feelings and those of others. There are two ways. How do you understand your own emotions? So what that means is self-awareness. Do you know how you respond emotionally? But again, how do you manage your own emotions? As a leader, an effective leader, the key thing that I want you to focus on is how much time do you spend on understanding your emotional pattern? And how do you also be able to manage emotions of others? Now, if you don't have that self-awareness, then it becomes very difficult when a situation arises for you to handle it, because you don't know how you react to it. So emotional management skills, which they provide competence to balance emotions and reason, so as to maximize long-term effectiveness and happiness. We'll get into that in a bit, but I want you to know this. The biggest challenge we have is that we don't have a balance between emotion and reason. Because sometimes you sit back and you say that, oh, if I was confronted with this same situation now, I'll react differently. Because at that time, I didn't give it a second thought. I only reacted emotionally. So that ability to balance between emotion and reason, that is what we are going to talk about as we proceed. So EI or EQ, as we call it, is a prerequisite for effective leadership across borders. So it requires a high level of self-mastery and people skills. So your own understanding and understanding of other people's emotions. So research has shown that IQ can help you to be successful to the extent of 20% only. Your IQ, how smart you are, it can only help you to be successful even in your job, in your leadership, to the extent of 20%. But 80% of success depends on how emotionally mature you are. That's a huge, difference, right? 20 and 80%, that's really big. And I'm going to give you some readings to read and refer to that. So, your IQ is good. It can help you to do what? For example, for you, when we appoint leaders, sometimes we look at someone, oh, this is somebody who is very smart, he's very musical, he knows, understands this, so therefore we feel we need to give him that position of leadership. But let me tell you, that is 20% of what can give you the position. But 80% of your success in that position of your leadership depends on how emotionally stable you are. Are we together? So what we see, what we assess, your skills, your ability to preach powerfully and break down the message, that's good. But 20% of that is what's going to, 20% of that is what makes you get the position or get into that. But for you to succeed in it. All right, so that's the graphical part of it. I like that quote that IQ, emotional quotient, can get you hired, but emotional quotient will get you fired. Emotional intelligence quotient gets you the job, the skills. You got your GPA of 4 point something. You are very smart. This is somebody who like able to break down these complex ideas. Pardon me. But then when it comes to the sustainability and being able to keep that position and succeed in it, it's about your emotions. Now that is scary. Actually, IQ, let me tell you, most of you are in leadership, even in your workplaces where you are. IQ is good enough for entry-level jobs. It's just enough to give you a position. But after that, we are not worried about what grade you scored in school. Did you realize that? We don't even go back to your resume anymore. Because, I mean, like, it's about now how you perform day to day in terms of you understanding your emotions, relationships. So let me see Warren Bennis, what he says, that in the fields I've studied, emotional intelligence is much more powerful than IQ in determining who emerges as a leader. IQ is a threshold competence, basic. You need it, but it doesn't make you a star. Emotional intelligence can make you a star. So we're going to look at the 3 domains of that affect performance. Of course, we have your cognitive abilities, your technical expertise, job skills. Of course, the skills here, and I apologize because some of the writings here are the ones that I do with the corporate leaders, so they may be extrapolated to apply to us, and I want you to be very careful when I break them down. Then emotional intelligence, that's EI. But EQ, like twice of your how smart you are compared to the skills you have acquired, you need twice as much to reach how powerful emotional quotient it is for your success. All that combined. So, therefore, emotional intelligence skills categorized into 2, the personal competence and social competence. Very important, very important. So personal competence, number 1 is self-awareness. Emotionally, do you understand yourself as a leader? One of the ways that I train people about self-awareness is some people go to the extent of having their own journal. How do you journal your own emotions? Because your thought process, when you write them down and see, you are able to mount the pattern of how emotionally you are behaving. But also, how do you manage them? In that case, that's where we, behavioral scientists like Pastor Muller, throw in the word, what? How do you develop coping skills enough to manage your emotions? Because we are all emotionally different. But how do you get to a point whereby you know, this is how I manage my emotions? But also, the issue of social competence. Being aware of the emotions of other people. And that's where the leaders really have a bigger challenge. That you're not only responsible for your own emotions, but the emotions of the people you lead. Big challenge here. And how do you manage the relationship that exists? You, as a leader at Go Ye Outreach Ministries, you are here struggling with your own emotional management, right? And you have been given a responsibility to manage the emotions of, say, 16 other people in the praise team, how they relate to you emotionally. But also how you manage the emotions with one another. Now, that is where the challenge comes in. Are we together? So emotional intelligence is key because people come in with attitudes. How many of you know attitudes are contagious? Just show up here and everybody is, and there is nothing challenging like being a leader of a team where people don't say what they're thinking. They just have an attitude, they are quiet, and that's it. Now you're there, you're trying to interpret this. You have made every prayer, you have bound every demon, and it's not happening. And you realize that now there's something bigger here. Are we together? So emotional management of ourselves and others is really key if we are going to be successful as leaders. So even as you leave this conference today, I want you to go out asking yourself, could this be an issue of emotional maturity that I need to handle? Because these people are broken, some of them, and they have come to us as leaders for the purpose of shepherding them. In that area that you are leading, God does not bring you people in your team who are finished products. He brings to you people that you're supposed to shepherd so that they can grow to a level of maturity. Now, let me tell you something different, something that is important to note. Did you know that the same IQ you had when you were in primary school is the same IQ you have today? Intelligence quotient does not change over time. It gets to a certain point, probably 7 years old, and that's it. And after that, you have the same IQ over the years. You can acquire skills and know how to manipulate computers, but that's not a measure of your IQ. It's the same. The thing that can be improved over time is emotional quotient. The reason as to why emphasis is being laid on emotional quotient is because that can be improved based on different factors. And we will address that as months go by. So self-awareness is just, the ability to perceive your emotions and stay aware of them as they happen. So you accurately perceive your emotions in the moment and understand your tendencies across situations. And how do you do this? By knowing how you react to situations. How did you react last time when you were confronted with this? And then it creates some, awareness. And then leaders who are high in self-awareness are remarkably clear in their understanding of what they do well, what motivates and satisfies them, and which people and situations push their buttons. Failure to know that, it becomes very difficult to lead, especially in the direction that the church is heading to at Goya Twitch Ministries. Just thinking about it helps you to improve the skill. So self-management is the ability to have awareness of, I don't know what that means. To have awareness of your emotions and to stay flexible and possibly direct your behavior. So self-management is, how you create that awareness and being able to direct them in the right way, their emotions and their behavior. So managing your emotions and reactions, situations and people and all that kind of stuff. I want us to watch a little video there, but from The Office. I know you watch all these shows, but I'm going to skip that in the interest of time. But I just want you to think about, what we are talking about here. The last time you quit that job in protest, then you got home and realized there is a bill right there that needs to be paid. Immediately, it clicked that maybe I should have waited a little longer to get another job before I can quit. And then you ask yourself, why did I do that? Well, I just wanted to show them. Only to realize that what you wanted to show them, that they actually don't care. They have seen many people quit like that in the past, and they don't care if you quit today. One of the challenges of emotional management is what we call impulsivity. Being impulsive in the way we do things. I like quoting from, some of the financial managers that, who is your best financial teacher that you listen to most? Catherine has one. Dave Ramsey. And someone else. So let me use Dave Ramsey's example. Dave Ramsey says this: the problem that we have as a people is that we buy things that we don't need, or we spend money we don't have to buy things we don't need to impress people we don't like, or even those that don't like us, or those even who don't care about you. The challenges we are facing right now is that we want to explode so that we can show some people who don't even care about you. But at the end you realize that you are affecting yourself your reputation, and your own self as a person of integrity. When is that last time that you threatened, I'm going to quit this leadership position at Goyi so that I can show them that they can operate without me? No, not you. I'm talking about someone else that you know. I'm talking about here. How many times do you deal with people in your team who every single time constantly remind you, oh, I'm going to leave the choir, I'm going to leave the praise, I'm going to leave this. No, that doesn't happen here. I'm talking about another church I used to lead before. Now, the challenge what I'm talking about here is that impulsive tendencies come because we don't know how to delay immediate gratification of impulses. If we have to be effective leaders, we have to get to a point of knowing that this can wait. It is not that bad. Do you know what happens is that we always send ourselves into a crisis mode. And we feel like if I don't do this now, the world comes to an end. Trust me, it's not coming to an end. Now, I don't have enough time to go into all this, but let's look at this relationship management. The ability to use awareness of your emotions and other people's emotions to manage interactions successfully. How you use your awareness of your emotions and awareness of other people's emotions to manage relationships. That is key. Now, we didn't get into all that. This is a video that I would recommend. Once you get this thing, I want you to watch it. Gorman presents this at, I think it was at Google headquarters, presenting to the experts about how our brain reacts. And I think those of you who have not read the book, I would encourage you to read the book. I will give the reference at the end. I guess I may have to return Charity's book. I finished reading it. It's a good book. It's a good book about emotional intelligence, why it matters more than IQ. That's what the title of that book is. And he addresses very significantly the areas of our life that we need to grow and empower, so that when you become emotionally stable, then you are able to even build relationships. Because the reason as to why we always get into a defense mode is because of emotional instability. When you try to talk to somebody in a way of correcting them and trying to embrace them and build a relationship, before even you say anything, they're attacking you. Oh, you don't see that. I see that somewhere else. But the point I'm making is this, that we have to get to a point, children of God, to realize that unless we understand our emotions and the emotions of other people, it's going to be very difficult for us to manage the church as leaders. I can go on and on and on. I can give all the references and the readings. But, of what benefit will it be if I don't say this? That we are dealing with a society and a community that has been wounded. We are dealing with a people that have been broken and so much emotionally damaged. Goye Outreach Ministries has been positioned in this community strategically to begin with dealing with the healing of people that have lost confidence in a church, and in that matter, in an immigrant church. Goye Outreach Ministries is being positioned in this community as a church that is going to deal with the people that are so skeptical. Even when you ask them to give an offering, they think it's because you want to take that money and invest in Africa. Because that is what they've been subjected to. These are people that are always on the defense mode. Even when we keep saying this, sometimes we have every good intention, but how will you transform the life of somebody who is emotionally damaged and broken? And whatever comes out is the emotional pain. I have spoken this again and again, that you can have physical injuries and something that you can see. The nurses like Pastor Faith, they can treat you and do this, but who will heal the emotional wounds? Tell me, who is going to get deep into that invisible pain that our people are experiencing. And that is why I came to tell you that we need to rise up to the occasion as leaders. To realize that we cannot talk about them, we cannot criticize them, we cannot gossip about them. As leaders, we have a responsibility to heal the community. It has to begin with our own awareness and the church that we lead. And that is going to spread. So let me say this. The challenges you are facing in your ministry right now is not because people disrespect you. It's because there's something deeper going on that needs God. Don't give up on them, because God has not given up on them. And you are an extension of God's doing in the city of Columbus. So, child of God, I want to encourage you to know this. That even you, as you face it and you feel frustrated, I want you to know this. God will give you the grace and the strength to carry with this work. And once the healing comes, child of God, there will be a difference in the way we lead this team. Thank you. God bless you. Now I switch my hats to a moderator, and I welcome Dr. Shield. So I welcome Dr. Shield, and we'll proceed from there. I won't be able to get into the discussion of my topic because it's a long one, but I will skip question and answers on that. We can address it on one-on-one, but let me have Dr. Shield take us through the last session. And I greatly appreciate for your participation. Welcome.
As he comes, I think this is very key. Maybe you can do a series in church and tie this in for everyone to get to know this. Because this is good. This is good stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, so in the next series, think how you can tie this in.
And I'm reading on a new one. I'm reading on a new one, AQ, adaptability quotient. Yeah, I think that's and I watched an hour preaching. I think it was a session between T.D. Jakes and Dr. Phil, and then T.D. Jakes had to extend it and preach in his church, and I thought it was an exciting one that you can also look up to. So I'm really interested in this field because I know it's going to empower us and make us to be effective leaders. So, and I greatly appreciate. Thank you, Catherine, for that. And we'll work together to make sure we have a series to educate the church. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor.
Okay. Oh yeah, okay. You don't want to connect to this?
I'll connect. I'll keep you.
Oh, okay. But we can put it there, right? So, okay. 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 This one? Okay, because that's the newest. Okay, good. So then you can do just enter. Yeah.
Wow, I think I have a very, very challenging time here, keeping you awake. That's the disadvantage of being a speaker after lunch, because you are struggling against other elements and other issues. Again, thank you, Pastor. Thank you, our board. Thank you, all our church ministries, for this opportunity to kind of retreat together as a group and really observe what God is doing among us. This is great, and so I'm here just to kind of touch base on a few things, especially the church growth, and also kind of look at the vision and tie that with all our dreams and our purpose and the goals that we have. So let me start by thanking all of you. You know, we recently did a